Hi you guys, this is Rachel Kirkland here, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being with me for another YouTube question and answer video of the week. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here, and you are always welcome to go to my website, which is themodernshaman.net. That is the best place to find out any information about what I have to offer in terms of teaching, my teaching seminars, my lectures, my travel itinerary, where I might be if I'm in your neck of the woods. I'm traveling to Austin, Chicago, Hawaii. There's a lot of new tour dates and things up on the schedule, as well as one-on-one sessions and how to schedule those, what those look like with me in terms of shamanic healing and soul retrievals and a lot of deep soul work on the healing components, as well as psychic and seeing sessions for past life viewing, for future probabilities, for just questions and directions and mentorship of your non-physical connections. All of that information is on my website and is always available, okay? So go there so I don't have to always do this little pitch at the beginning. All the stuff is on the website if you really want to know and your heart's like, I need to know more. themodernshaman.net is the place. Okay, so here's the question for the video today. It says, and I quote, "Can you please make a video about symbols? I swear, Spirit speaks to me in puzzles and symbols and signs, and I'm so sick of not knowing." What is the point of spirit giving me a symbol if I don't know what the heck it means? Oh, you're cracking me up. Okay. So symbols, yeah. I can tell you're a little frustrated by that, and sometimes that happens. I had a session one time where someone was asking me to connect them with their spirit guides, and one of their spirit guides was a mathematical formula. It was so fascinating, and of course the client was like a Mensa genius. I mean, he's super smart, but I had never had that come up, and I was like, it had a name. I can't remember it now. This was years ago. And I mentioned the name, and he was like, that's a mathematical formula. That's not a person's name. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, that makes so much sense, because the energy was like so strangely non-human, and dimensional. It was such a fascinating session. Anyways, tangent, sorry about that. But anything and everything is out there, man, and I totally relate. I think a lot of people can relate to this. When spirit starts giving you symbols and signs, and you're like, what in the world is this? Is this a totally different language? What's being communicated here? So let me see where I want to go with this. You know what this also reminds me of? Sorry, another tangent. But you know that movie, The Arrival? I just got an image of that, where that species, that alien species, shows up on the planet. It's an awesome movie. And it's cyclical. They're learning. They send a linguist to learn to communicate with the species, the alien species, and they start drawing all these circles or shapes. And it's the cyclical language. So in the end, and I don't mean to be a spoiler, if you haven't seen the movie, see the movie. It's fantastic. But it's really cool how their communication works. And this is I loved it because it's so true of non-physical communication. It is not language all the time. Sometimes it is, but it's not always language, but it is communicating. And I think that trips us up sometimes as humans, or as having been on this earth and expecting things to speak and communicate to us through languaging. And non-physical can use any way, shape, or form, and it's much more effective if the communication is layered. Symbols are a beautiful representation of that, because they give you so much more information, so much more communication than just one layer, right? Like, an example would be like that capital letter H, okay? So if you start seeing capital letter H, and this is a symbol, and you feel like it's a symbol from spirit, and you're seeing H, there is a symbol and that even that sense of communication of hydrogen from the periodic table, right? Which communicates so many different things from one letter. There are layers there of the periodic table and elemental. There is even like the pictograph of seeing a sense of, electron configuration. There is a sacred geometry of the hexagon when it comes to the shape or the crystalline structure of what that elemental really is, all from just the letter H. You see how many layers can be communicated through symbols? So symbols are incredibly powerful and widely used in the non-physical realm to communicate to you, but here's the deal. You have to be on vibrational resonance with all the layers of what is symbolically being communicated in order to understand or receive the energy transmission of what's being shared there in terms of information. So you may look at that one day and be in I gotta go, I gotta get to work, I gotta be busy, and you're like, H. All right, I see an H. Okay, spirit, hello. Like, just think they're saying hi. There's a hi, H for hello, H for hi. And then you may be on another level, another day, and working through something and realize, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the spheres, I'm seeing, like I said, the electron configuration or this pictograph of moving elements and elementals. There's a depth to it. There's a spherical component. There's a shape to it that feels like a crystalline structure that's showing up also in sacred geometry in my dreams. It's all connecting, and messages layered there of needing a sense of chemical reaction or whatever that can be happening. It may just be bringing the energetic component to you in your life. There's so much more to symbols than just language or just letter or just information. A lot of times spirit will use symbols, images, shapes, puzzles, what seems like a puzzle to us, imagery, or just something that's so whacked out that we don't know how to configure it, we don't know how to use it. They use it almost like a function. It has a functioning quality to the way that it is assimilated into communication. Now, by assimilation, it's almost like a mist, like it comes through your supercomputer of your body, the mind, of the soul, the being. The communication comes in and is processed like that. And it's almost like there's a functional aspect. So you think of like a computer, and the keyboard has all these different keystrokes, right? And some of them are symbols, but there's a function to them. You hit that symbol and you hit the return, maybe, and on some computers it looks like an arrow, like a circle, or like a half circle with an arrow. You hit the half circle with an arrow, it creates a return down. It moves, it shifts you down, or the shift key. Sometimes those keys, those symbols, have a functional quality to your life, meaning spirit is communicating and creating a functional shift in you just through giving you the symbol. It's like they're hitting return, return, return. They're hitting move on, move through. And not just hitting it, they're creating the function through your own sense of computation. Like, we are computing the symbol as they're giving it to you in your dreams, or you're seeing it. You are receiving the energy. You're receiving the program of hitting that keyboard return, and you energetically shift on to the next layer. You energetically download and move on to the next thing in life. You function through the information that's given to you. If that makes sense, it shifts, it does, and creates a sense of functional use through the symbology. So oftentimes spirit will use it, those high dimensional function symbols, as using us like a computer to move on when we need a sense of help getting up and going, and I'm just using move on as the return key. There's a million different ways. It's infinite what could be used, but oftentimes it will have a functional quality. This is a multidimensional way of communicating through energy. It's a movement, it's a process, right? It's not just a letter, it's not just information. It is actually a function of utilizing energy to energy and knowing how to use a symbol as a functioning aspect. Another way that I see symbols often used, before I move on, sorry, Spirit's like, don't move on yet. Before I move on, the cool thing about that, when you're getting functions, when you're getting symbols that feel like there's a functionality to them, or maybe you don't even know there's a function, there's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you need to figure out. There's no puzzle that needs to be solved. It in itself is processed. Your energy knows what to do with it. You are a supercomputer. Your crystalline structure is already magnifying, amplifying, and using the symbol that's been given. Marvelous. That is the magnificence of this form. It works, okay? Okay, I'm looking at your question again. Sometimes also symbols will be given as activations or triggers and activators in terms of energy. So this is more like a chemical reaction. And you may be given the symbol, and you can use like a chemical on the periodic table even. You may be given a symbol like that, but it's actually representative of the reactionary. It creates the reaction. The symbol itself, or the component or the elemental itself, starts reacting with what is inside of you and creating activations. So oftentimes we get DNA activations this way through symbols, signs, numerology, seeing certain numbers all the time, seeing certain things on license plates all the time, things that are processed through our ocular vision. We're taking it into our little supercomputer, our cognition, but it moves all the way through into that like latent DNA or the junk DNA layer, these unactivated or unaccessed parts of our being, and it becomes an activation. It brings up what is hidden within us. And so again, nothing that needs to be done other than a sense of acknowledgement of I see it, I know it's activating things within me that are moving me forward, that are taking me on my path. A lot of times this is happening when you're seeking a higher purpose in your life. You're seeking to really like amplify your vision. You're awake and you're like, all right, I'm conscious, now let's get going. And Spirit will bring a lot of this symbols through your dream state, or through, like I said, seeing numbers repeated, seeing patterns, seeing sacred geometric imagery, or things that even crazy imagery that like I have no idea what this means, or I've never seen this shape before. I couldn't even try to draw it because it's not in this dimension or whatever. All of those things can also be used oftentimes in a multidimensional communication of activation. They start the reactionary response. And it's not just a function, it is a reaction. So it brings up things within you that you didn't see before. You start remembering past lives, you start feeling connections to people. It starts up-leveling your chakra system beyond just the traditional 7 chakras, and you move into the 13 or the 21. You start to level up in many ways through symbol activations from the non-physical realm. So they're communicating to you, but again, it's not language, it's not lettered, it's not the way that we would as humans speak and communicate. It's non-physical, it's multidimensional, baby. You're up-leveling, okay? So one thing I will say is not to get frustrated, okay? And I know that seems like kind of redundant advice for someone who's frustrated by it. And you're not alone. A lot of clients that I see, or people that I mentor that are getting information that they're like, what the heck is this? Are frustrated when they get things like that. But know that it is exactly what's needed for you. Know in a sense of like excitement and wonder and awe that Spirit and the non-physical realm, your higher self that is all-knowing and in access, an accessible range to all of these puzzle pieces from the other side, is going to choose the most quickest, most efficient, most effective way to get you to where you want to go, to help you live out the life that you're desiring. So it's relevant, it's useful, and you can lean into, like, even if my human brain is not able to understand it, I know that there is definitely higher purpose and there's definitely action that's being created from this sense of communication. And set the intention to just receive with as much ease and flow and accessible receptivity as possible. Like, tell your body, tell your brain, tell your form, tell your cognition to help you receive with such openness and flow and just like grace to it in a way that doesn't cause that friction of frustration. Because frustration creates a sense of resistance, right? You're pushing against what's already coming through. You open up to it, just like, I'm getting this, I'm seeing this is beautiful. And just living in the wonder of knowing that it is accomplishing what is meant to be accomplished creates such a more harmonious communication level. And you will find just very intuitively in your claircognizance, like, you'll just know what it means. You'll find that because now you're in harmony with it instead of dissonance with the energy, right? And it's feeling like you will be able to receive the overall understanding, even if you don't understand the delineated letters or the many components to the layers of the symbol that's being communicated. You will overall feel such a sense of peace and joy in the communication that there will be a transference of, like, knowing why it came to you and why you in particular receive what you receive. It can be a beautiful space. So I just charge you to stay open to that receptivity. All right. Mwah! I'm going to sign off for this week. We'll see you back here next week. Bye, you guys.